Ready, set, go.
Hey everybody, this is part 2 of the UPDIF 2025 Founders Reflections. There is a part 1, so if you missed that one, you can go find that in the episodes. This is part 2. We hope that you enjoy it. It's about another 45 minutes of reflections. It was a crazy UPDIF, so there was lots to talk about between Kat, Dre, and I. We'll get right back to it right now.
Today it's over and done with.
Yes.
Friday, greedy, funky, freestyle, stomp rockets, prep for the banquet. Friday was crazy. It was a crazy busy day. It was freestyle again, so for me, I was in heaven. We had the second round of performance, or not the second round, the second half of the performance rounds on Friday. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved the performance rounds this year. It's super fun. It's my favorite part of UpDiff. So that's and again, I was nowhere else. I saw zero greedy, zero funky until I think freestyle was done. I think I walked around for the next hour and captured a little bit of live stream, but it was like there was a little bit here, a little bit there. There wasn't really much going on. Towards the end of the day, we all pretty much finished around the same time. So all I saw
Yeah,
was freestyle.
we started an hour later so that, we could all sleep in a little after the banquet. And so it was
Thank you.
a little bit later finishing up time. But yeah, Friday went really well. I think the Stomp Rocket seemed really fun. I mean, I didn't get to play or watch, but I kind of caught it while we were doing our day.
I had fun watching the teams. It was great.
It was great. Rockets was more fun than I even thought it was going to be. They were super fun to shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And got really great strategically. Of course, they're up doggers. I don't know why I'm surprised, but like they had great strategies of like certain people load out and then they load back in and they're like yelling and running. It was great. None of my teams made it to the finals, so I feel like I disappointed my team somehow. But none of my three teams made it to the finals. The finals were great too. It was just it was a great end of the day activity to kind of unwind, get a lot of the kids involved too. But it
Yeah.
wasn't just kids playing. It was, families and friends and groups. And we had one kid in our group and, everybody has to stomp the rocket and he's so little that like it would only shoot like 2 feet. So every time we had like two adults throwing him down on the balloon and it would go beep, just like, so, it was a really fun family event. And honestly, the rockets were super fun to shoot. I shot them. They were great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're looking for
Jack had been to,
an easy like backyard activity for when you
Right.
have events, as long as you have enough space in your backyard, because these things flew
yeah.
really far. I highly suggest that as an outdoor kind of backyard activity. It was
Yeah,
fun.
Jack had been talking about the Stomp Rockets. I was like, all right, yeah, all right, whatever. And then when he got them, we took him out to our big field to see how far they'd go so he could like make sure that the rules of the game made sense. And so I, had to stomp some rockets. I'm like, okay, this is actually
This
really
is
fun. You're
fun.
gonna love this.
Yeah, you could angle them more
Yeah.
up or more out. And so like you had somebody as the setter that was like angling and then shoving the rockets on and people were coming up and smashing. And then people are out there catching and bumping them into the garbage can. So it was a little bit of can jam, a little bit of just like it was really, really fun.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Yep.
And I would like to do that every year at UpDiff, right? But you guys come up with different games every year. So maybe that's the only time we'll ever see Stomp Rockets, but I thought they were great.
Yep.
Um, I don't know that we really had any big things coming up with Spaced Out or Time Warp. So it was pretty much, oh no,
The
prep
Greedy and
for the
funky on
banquet.
the
Friday.
funky one thing I've noticed about the funky competitors is, I mean, I know funky's not everybody's favorite game, but the people who are into it,
They're
man,
passionate about it.
they are like, and it comes down to like seconds and like, maybe
Yeah.
a drop bar or like, just they were into it. And I watched some rounds that like I wouldn't even be able to fathom that I would ever even approach a score like that. Like they were really cool to watch some of the rounds, and there's some heated competition and funk on the funky field
Funky
for
Specialist,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
That's one of our games that like not everybody's gonna love because it's a more difficult game. It's like a combo, right? Game where it combines a couple different game skills. And I think that the people that are real specialists at that are gonna love to compete head to head against each other under pressure like that. I wish I would have seen it. Were there any like back-to-back people, or I mean, that would be so interesting. If I just want to kind of do that for every game, Kat. That was really fun. To kind
Yeah,
of
so
from average.
Well,
I spent so
there.
I go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
Running order is hard enough, I'm sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that was the answer.
So that's been something people have been asking for in the survey for a couple of years, is that they wish they could see the top team play in
Right,
certain games.
right.
So this year I spent a lot of time making that happen for Sunday as a test to see if we could do it going forward.
Yeah.
Well, you saw what happened to Sunday's game. So all of that work just blew up, and we didn't get to be
We
like,
didn't get to
hey,
do any of it.
right. We didn't get to be like, hey, from 8 to 10 on the fragility field are your top 50 teams, and from 3 to 5 on the four-way play field are your top teams. That was what was supposed to happen. And obviously, when you condense 2 days worth of runs into 1 day, that didn't happen.
Right.
We're
That's a
skipping ahead
bummer.
to
I would have
Saturday.
loved to have seen how that worked.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out, like I said, we're skipping ahead to Saturday now, but you brought it up for Funky. So it was supposed to be a test to see if I could do it for other days. We didn't get to perform that test. So we'll test it again next year and hope we don't have to combine days or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So Friday night, I want to throw this in there because it was just another one of those. I just keep thinking back about how many things just kind of fell into place, even though there was weird junk happening, especially on Saturday with the weather and everything. But so Friday night, a number of us went to the banquet center to set up the banquet. And the banquet on Wednesday night was set up for like 160 people. But for Saturday night, we needed to set it up for like 260. So we
Right.
needed a bunch more tables and a bunch more chairs, and we needed to rearrange the room. So we go there, we're rearranging the room, and Andrea's husband Josh was there helping us, and he was like, I'm gonna grab these tables, the rest of the tables out of the back room, and I'm like, great, thank you. So he goes to the back room, he comes back like 10 minutes later, and he's like, none of these tables have legs on them.
They're all broken.
I'm like,
All of
what?
them.
So
Yeah.
when Kat and I were there 6 months ago, we told them like, hey, we're gonna need space at least for possibly like 320, 330
We told them
people.
400 at that time.
I can't, okay, I don't remember, but
We
I know
were
it was
expecting
big.
every year we
And
did
so
more.
we went back to the back room and counted tables with the lady. And she's like, yep, we got enough tables and we have enough chairs. Okay. What we didn't realize was all the tables that were stacked in the back were broken.
no leg.
The legs had broken off of them. They literally had like 20 tables in the
They
back
didn't
with
throw them
broken
away
legs.
or repair them. They're just there
Right.
being broken.
So it's Friday night at
Like 11 o'clock at night.
yeah, it's obviously past whenever any rental companies would be open. And so my thought is, all right, Saturday morning, as soon as the rental company opens, we need to like
calling
see if
more
any
tables.
of them could get us, 10 more tables and 40 more chairs delivered or whatever. And then of course, later that night and into the morning, we look at the weather and realize what's happening with the weather. And then when we decide to double up on games and bring the food to the field,
It was moot.
don't need those tables and chairs anymore.
Well, the good news is that we were able to transfer that work and set up at least to the Sunday banquet. So we didn't have to like reset up for
Right.
Sunday. But at first I thought that we had just wasted all that work until midnight
Yeah.
setting up tables. And I was like, but it was fine.
And we knew we were going to lose some people. Not everyone was going to, stick around and come to the Sunday banquet. So we got by with the amount of tables
The
and
amount of
chairs
tables
that
we
we
had. We had
had.
empty tables
We
still.
weren't eating.
Right. It
It was
wasn't,
bring your
yeah.
own breakfast, so we were able to put chairs up
Right.
and people could sit, audience style. So that worked out too.
Yep.
Yep. Well, why
So
don't we go to
let's
Saturday?
jump to Saturday. We've been talking about it anyway for like the last
So
30 minutes.
I don't even remember Saturday.
that was the final day of freestyle. So we did the reverse to first. It was our first cut for freestyle. First time finishing with Criterion. Freestyle was exciting. It was a great day. I mean, it's my favorite part. So every day was great. I live streamed freestyle and was there for the entire time. So I have no idea what happened with 7-Up, Throw and Go, or Fragility, other than I think I got some Fragility live streaming towards the end of the day, towards the end of the night, after freestyle was over. But how did the other games go? Freestyle was great.
So, well, we'll start at the beginning of Saturday. We wake up Saturday morning and
Oh yeah,
we saw all week that it was supposed to rain on
live stream.
Sunday. But we kept hoping it would like move to be later in the day or it would move to be at night.
Yeah,
or
because some of the days we were supposed to get rain and we didn't.
Right.
It
Like at one point,
sloughed off.
Wednesday was supposed to be horrible, and all it
Yeah.
was
Yep.
windy. So we kept
Yep.
hoping that we'd have some
Maybe it
magic
would clear up like all the other days did.
and that would happen. But by Saturday morning, I mean, it was supposed to be really bad at 11 a.m. It ended up being bad earlier on Sunday,
Right.
but it was like we can't have all these people out on this field when there's freaking
Crashing the
tornado
field.
warnings going
If it's
off.
that much rain, it's just going to ruin the grass.
Right. Well, and it was like tornado warnings and stuff. So like it's just a safety factor. So Jack and I chatted first thing that morning and we're like, all right, let's see if the judges are willing to combine 2 days into one.
DogCon.
And at first we were like thinking, I don't know if we can fit both games in. Like our first thought was maybe we're gonna have to have
Cancel one game.
or have players choose like, hey, pick a game, 4-way player for agility. Like we're sorry, but we don't think we're gonna be able to get all of it in. But then when Kat started doing the math and figuring out the
Numbers.
logistics, and when the judges, we had an impromptu judges meeting at 7:15
Yeah.
that morning. We told them what was happening and we said like, what are your thoughts on trying to do all or part of Sunday's games today? I think Landon was the first one to say I'm in.
It was
But it was
resounding.
unanimous. Everybody said it almost all at once. We're like, we'll do
Yeah.
whatever we need to do. I mean, it was from there, like it was like we
announced it on the live stream.
buy-in.
Yeah.
And then the players meeting when we approached it with the players, and then
Resounding yes. Everybody was excited.
clapped and was like, yes. Like, I mean, I think anybody who had been watching the weather realized like Sunday's gonna suck. So like, would you rather try to get your runs in without a bunch of, lightning and rain and tornado warnings, or would you rather, stand in all of that tomorrow and try to get it done?
Yeah. So Saturday, like I said, I hardly even remember Saturday. It was just like I spent the first half of the day just rearranging everything, like getting a running order because like we couldn't do walk up for both fields because that's just chaos for the data entry team. So we're like, all right, we'll do walk up for 4-way play, but keep a running order for fragility. Right. We added on like 3 or 4 more data entry people. We kind of cut a few corners and some of our double checking, which bit us in the butt in some areas, but we 1,200 and something runs in one day is insane.
I think it was a good call to do just the walk up for the one, because we really did chew through a lot of the 4-way play by the time we got done with freestyle. Because I was looking around, it was mostly for agility being played. We used every single field we could until we ran out of agility jumps.
Right. Well, yeah, that's the most
field.
we could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even
We
at
had
that,
jump every single field.
We
So
were
I
duct
think
taping
4 or
jumps
5
together.
Yeah, we had 4 or 5 fields of agility of fragility and 2 or 3. Yeah, 2 or 3 of the 4-way play, and it was fun. I walked around live streaming them, trying to capture a little bit of runs at the end, but the community part was the coolest. I mean, I remember when I came back from Europe, I told you about the EC experience. It was that, and it made me so freaking happy that we pulled that off here, and that it was Updog that did it. Like it was the same thing. Like the entire community pulled together. Nobody was bitching and complaining. It was fun. Everybody was pulling up cables and pulling down tents and throwing stuff on the side and breaking down fields. And I have a picture of the field that was 11:30 at night. We turned around and it was just like, it was just like lights. And then the 3 tents that had to be taken, the 3 main tents taken down by the tent company. We did it all by like 11:30.
Yeah.
My favorite memory of Saturday was when the food got there and it was ready and we stopped.
Hard stop.
And then like all the field stopped.
Yep.
We announced, let's let the judges eat first.
Yep.
And let's clap them in. And literally the judges are coming from the auxiliary field
so cool.
and people are clapping for them and they're running to go get their food. And then like by the time that like, we got there from the data tent to go get food, the judges had already grabbed theirs. Lots of people had already been able to go through the line. And just seeing like everybody, the weather at that point was
it was beautiful.
It was beautiful. The lights were on. It was nice and cool. People were sitting out on the bandstand. They were sitting in their tents. People were talking with each other. And it was just like, I don't know. It just was a great community. Yeah,
a minute.
great community feel.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite memory of
Then we
Saturday. Like
unpaused, and then all the games started up again, and everybody got back to action. So my favorite part was like that it was like everybody was pushing, 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 and then it just stopped. And there was just like moment of community. Ah, and then boom, right back to action again. It was collaborative, it was fun. Nobody was like, and when people were freaking out, people helped. Like if the judges were freaking out, they had too much, people went and helped them. If the people were having trouble showing up for all their runs, people helped them. If we needed help with, bar setting, people helped. If we needed help with breaking down tents, people helped. So it
so
was it
at,
was
at
really
one point in time, I thought I had broken Cat because because around like 6 o'clock, I saw Chaz, and Chaz is like, dude, there's a big red blotch coming in at like 6:30. We're gonna get slammed. And he shows me, I don't know if he showed me the radar or he just told me and I pulled it up, but I looked at it and there was a
it was
big
bad,
red
yeah.
blotch of weather coming in, and I was like, crap. So I went and I told
I'm not
Kat,
ready.
I'm like, Kat, it looked, and Kat had just like finished all the running orders and she was just kind of like, okay, I think we
Breathe.
can do this.
Well, I had done that, finished that earlier, but right before that, my printer ran out of ink, and
That's right.
it wouldn't print in only color. I had tons of color, but it wouldn't print. And so all of the new running orders for agility, I couldn't print out. Like we had no new running orders. And so then like 10 minutes later, he walks up to me and
And I'm like, hey, by the way, it looks like we're gonna get hit with about
Yeah.
45 minutes of rain. And
We
Kat
don't have enough
looked at me,
time.
and she was just like, I can't do this.
I'm like, I'm done.
And
I started crying. I'm
and
like,
and literally what happened was if you were to watch it on the radar, like here's our little dot in Decatur, and this big
Yeah.
red blotch goes like this, and it
And
spreads out, and it goes past Decatur, hits, and comes back on the other side. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
we
And
only
it
got
didn't
like
hit
a
us
few
at all.
minutes.
That
Yeah.
wasn't even the 20 minutes of rain that we got. Like that happened a little bit later. But I mean, and we did get rain, and we obviously paused for the lightning there, but that was like 20 minutes and we were okay. And
Yeah.
it didn't happen during dinner, which is when this other one was going to come through and hit us. So again, just magical things
Magical.
happening.
but yeah, I was about ready to just get up and leave at that point. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I can't do
I've done
anymore.
all I could do here. I have
I'm
nothing
out.
else to do.
Y'all have fun. See you
Get
later.
somebody else
See
to
you
figure
next
it out
year.
from here on out.
Kat had reached her limit at on that
Yeah,
day.
Saturday was a lot. And,
That's
uh,
like when I say it was my favorite, and I don't know that it'll ever get topped, is because of all those things. Like it
yep.
wasn't my favorite because of the Rocket Museum. It wasn't my favorite because of whatever freestyle or the theme, or
This dog
it
con.
was my favorite because of everybody coming together and like making it happen on Saturday. And like to be honest, I don't want that to happen again because
No.
like,
Right.
there were lots
Stress.
of things that could have gone wrong that didn't, and if they went wrong, it wouldn't have been as good of an experience. And but it was all of us pulling together. It's kind of like, when you have like, when we have the hurricanes here in Florida
Any
and like
natural disaster in the US,
yeah, the
really.
community
People pull
pulls together and like we make sure everybody's okay and we make it happen. And that was, obviously
The
it was
natural
a hurricane,
disaster of UpDiff 2025.
but it was, hey, we've got this problem. We're going to solve it together and we're going to get through it.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. Such cool memories. So
Yeah,
our final,
I
go
would
ahead,
say
Kat.
it broke me. Like I'm reading everyone's comments about it's the best UpDiff yet, and you guys are all like, "Oh my God, it's the best UpDiff yet," and I'm just still numb because it just
Yeah,
like I was like, it just broke.
trauma.
Like maybe in a week or two, I'll be able to say, yeah, that was the best UpDiff yet. But for right now, I'm just like, all right, whatever.
Well,
Think of
on
it
on
as
Sunday
regular.
too, when we were doing the breakfast thing, so moving to Sunday, like at the very end, like I was talking to everybody and we were saying, I was on the mic saying any final comments or whatever, and I just said, this is the best disc dog community ever. And then I quickly wanted to clarify because I didn't want to say like Updog's the best, because it wasn't about Updog. It was about this group of people, this community that made it happen, like this group of people. I mean,
It is
and
our updog
it
community.
is our Updog community, but what I'm saying is it's not because of us and because of Updog. It's because of all the people that are in it. And I was tearing up a little bit at the end. And even just talking about it now, I'm getting a little bit like sentimental about it, or I don't know if that's the right word, emotional about it. But yeah,
Well,
it
what I've
was
heard from our
that.
community is that we created that culture and they've run with it. And I really think that we've been really purposeful about that since we started. That it is about that culture and it is about support and cheering on your friends and being positive and growing and celebrating achievement. And I think that from creating that structure, we have people that have joined and become passionate about Updog because that's the environment we've created.
Well, and remember
Yes, it's
when
them. They've done it, but it's the structure of Updog that I think really has made the difference. And that when stuff comes up that isn't fair or isn't right, we have structures in place to have people be heard and acknowledged and have actions being taken from that. And I think that's missing from a lot of dog sports.
Well, we talked about it before UpDiff, and we talked about the fact that at the very first players meeting, or at least I think at the first two, because not everybody always is there for the first day,
Mhm.
that we wanted to kind of like say like and it's unfortunate that we have to say it, but like just remind people like be kind to each other and be kind to your
Mhm.
animals, right? Like what we say at the end of every
I
podcast.
think
But
that went
like
a lot better this year also.
it did, and I can say that like in previous years, there's been some drama, there's been some complaints, there's been like, nitpicking back and forth sometimes between people or whatever. But, you know, we all come to UpDiff to celebrate our dogs, celebrate what we've been able to do with our dogs, the skills that we've built throughout the year, to see friends that we haven't seen all year long that travel, thousands of
Yep.
miles to get there. We don't want to taint this by stupid crap, like stupid drama or a mean thing that's said to somebody or somebody not doing something that they should have done for the betterment of the community or whatever. Like all of those things come together to create a great experience. And I feel like this year, like we had really good buy-in from everybody, and it was very minimal. The
Drama.
anything that
Yeah.
I mean, we had a couple people that had a few too many potatoes, you know.
Too much lasagna.
Um, but for the most part, everybody chipped in. For the most part, everybody listened to things that were said at the players' meeting
Yeah.
and pitched in to make sure that the venue was protected, picked up trash, picked up
And
your
when
crates at
incidents
the end of the
happen,
day, all of
they
that
were
stuff.
reported, all that kind of stuff. So everything was handled appropriately. I feel like when stuff came up, it we were able to support our players that needed support in that time. We had several different things come up where we all kind of needed to rally together and help people out. And that was one of my favorite parts is kind of seeing people really, really struggle and then seeing them being able to return to the field.
Yeah.
Because you don't want anybody leaving the UpTIF experience. I think that which kind of ties into a thought that I had earlier about our attendance being a little bit smaller this year. We had a lot of conversation about what UpDiff is and what it's going to be as an experience for people and their dogs. And I think part of the reason why we had a slightly smaller updiff is because people are realizing that if their dog's reactive or fearful or has trouble in that environment, like maybe updiff isn't the best environment for their dog right now. And so I think a lot of teams I saw a lot of posts on Facebook leading up to it that like, my dog just isn't really ready for this, or I don't think that I'm really going to be able to set them up for success. And then obviously in the last week or two leading up, as Kat saw, injuries happen. Dogs swallow balls and need surgeries. Somebody, strains something, hurts a toe, do whatever, and then all those teams kind of drop off. But I think, part of it is that updiff is what it is, and it's a high distraction environment, and there are reactive dogs, and there are fearful dogs, and there are, open field formats. There's not a fence around every single field, and so I think people are starting to know that they need to prepare their dogs for those environments before they expect them to come to a competition like that, and to be able to perform at their best. So it's another challenge of any dog sport, right, is the dog being able to handle the environment. And so hopefully with more regionals and regional events that we're creating that'll be on a smaller scale from UpDiff, it'll give those teams an opportunity to go to a slightly maybe like a quarter or half the size of UpDiff type event where maybe there's 2 or 3 fields and get them, acclimated to that. And then maybe the next year they feel comfortable coming into an UpDiff experience. But I feel like we had a lot less of those breakdowns than we've had on previous years because the teams that were there seemed to be more prepared for the type of environment that UpDiff is, if that makes sense.
And I think that there is a tipping point too. Like at one point I was just like, yeah, UpDiff can just keep getting bigger and bigger. It's amazing. Let's just make it let's just make it the Bonnaroo of dog sports. And yeah, this is what Kat always says is no.
For those of you who aren't watching the video, I put my no hat on. So
But I have started to realize that there is a tipping point in terms of the amount of people that show up and then the player experience going down, because there's only so much that you can do to keep it from just getting chaotic.
Too long,
You know,
even
too much,
long.
too long,
days
too much
off,
going on. The awards banquet going on for, too long or whatever. Like, I do think that, I mean, and I'm sure we'll find out in the survey too what other people's opinions are, but I kind of feel like this is the max point. Like we don't want more than 300 or a little bit more. Like if we had 450 or 500 people, that would be too many.
Yeah.
And that would start ruining the experience for the people there. And then they would come to UpDiff and be like, oh, that wasn't that good at all. And then the next year we'd have 200 people because, a bunch of them didn't have a great experience or whatever.
It would change the banquet. It would change our end time at night. It would change whether we can do activities or not. We would have longer days. We would have more days of judging. It's just too, like already as it is right now with the cut, we got it down to 3 days of freestyle from 4. And that's still, that's still a lot for people. And that was with only 111 teams. So, so not even our 300 people are all playing freestyle. Can you imagine if 300 people were playing freestyle?
Yeah.
We'd have to really feed our judges to make that happen. So, what did y'all think about the Sunday banquet? How that went?
I mean, I think I kind of already said my piece. I started crying.
Yeah, he started crying.
I mean, I think it went as good as could be expected for something that was thrown together, last minute. Like, bring your own breakfast. We've got cookies, cake, and beer.
I know.
We got rid of all of our judges' snacks. All the judges' snacks went. Almost all the beer went. It was great. We have all these.
I couldn't believe how many people were drinking the beer.
Like 9 o'clock in the morning, all the beer was gone.
Yeah, it was
cool. Bojangles and beer.
Yep. That's some Alabama shit right there.
Right?
Yeah, I thought the banquet was great considering I was very happy that we got to use our table and chair setup so that it wasn't wasted. I love the idea that we made it BYOB so we didn't have to stress about what we were going to feed people or do whatever in the morning.
And actually that's something else that as much as UpDiff was chaotic and like all this crap like would go wrong, 2 things about Saturday/Sunday that went right is Ashley Fulton and Deborah Taylor and several other people were in charge of the banquets that weren't Thursday nights banquets. And so as soon as we announced that we were going to double up the days and we wouldn't be going to the banquet Saturday night, Ashley called the place where we were getting the cakes done because we had ordered 4 sheet cakes. And the lady's like, I haven't started them yet. If you call me back within 5 minutes, you can cancel. So Ashley gets on the phone with me and she's like, we can cancel. So we're like, all right, let's keep 1 cake. So we at least have 1 cake with the UpDiff logo and cancel the rest. So that worked out really well. And then Jack got on the horn with Moe's because we were supposed to have Moe's on Sunday night and found out that as long as you canceled it within 24 hours before, that you could cancel with no penalty.
Well, actually, it was Ashley that reached them because I got on and I couldn't reach them because it was early, I think. And then she got on like 15 minutes later and was able to get them.
I know you had told me that, so I thought it was you. Anyway, so we were able to cancel the Sunday night banquet and it's not good, it didn't cost us any money. So the good news is that slowly but surely, everyone's going to get a refund for the Sunday night banquet because it didn't
Yeah.
cost us any money. I
Well,
mean,
everyone that paid for the banquet.
well, obviously, I mean, you can't get a refund for something you didn't pay for,
Are you
but
sure? Because I would like one.
yeah,
Somebody's gonna be putting on there. I didn't get my refund on Sunday. I didn't pay for it, but you said everybody's getting one. So
right, right. But I mean, like, so that worked out. Like, it would have sucked if we would have been stuck with that bill, and then, we wouldn't have been able
Right.
to reimburse the players. But now we're going to be able to, reimburse the players for that. So at least most of it, because we still have the cookies and stuff like that. So we'll have to look at the finances, but
I think it'll be fine. But yeah, the cookies, those were
bomb.
freaking amazing.
yes, they were.
it was worth it for me gluten wise to eat one of those soft sugar cookies. They were
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, those like filled our trailer. Like we had cookies everywhere, and I had to like keep them up high so the dogs couldn't get to the
Didn't
cookies.
get them.
So it actually worked out that we
Luckily,
ate
they
them
were not
Saturday.
too high for me to grab.
Right.
So I did test some of them out on the night's
Oh, you got in there first, Cookie Monster. I see how it is.
He and Cody both, yes.
King's test. They wanted to make sure they weren't toxic or something. They
Yeah.
just
But those were
for the
supposed to be
safety
for
of our
Sunday
updog
night.
community.
Those were supposed to be for Sunday night. So we just replaced the cake with those cookies for Saturday night and then
Yeah.
brought the leftovers Sunday
The
morning. But
cookies
again,
were bomb. They were really good.
just another thing that like just fell in place, like the tire on Sunday, and like it's just another one of those things that just kind of like, yeah, things are crazy, but it could be way
Have
worse.
solutions. Yeah. I'm really proud of how we handled all the switch up change ups that happened. Not only in that they ended up like operating relatively flawlessly with our um whatever solution for whatever problem we decided to go with, but I think that the general attitude around it was really positive, which I think is a major shift.
Yeah.
Like and like I was saying before, that was my favorite part, that whole EC moment when we were all like all at once, like throwing it all together. All the judges were like, I'm in, I'll judge until midnight if I need to. And, all the players were like, I'll drop this run. It's not that important. And then everybody like tearing down fields. I feel like the pivots that we did throughout the week, the positive energy around the pivots. There wasn't like, God, another effing problem. Brr, 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 brr. People weren't complaining. They were excited about shit changing.
Right.
And they were jumping in to help. So the volunteers were absolutely extraordinary, just extraordinary for this updiff, and we would not have been able to do it without them. It was just they just really, really stepped up with a positive attitude that was contagious across the entire community that got even our players to do it. Like, and it's not very often here in the US where you see people that are paying for a service jump in and do something work related without getting paid for it. You know what I mean? And everybody jumped in and helped and
But
made
I
the
do
night.
think we see that in our updog community all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got the best people.
All right. Let's close this out. We got some far out facts.
Far out facts. How do
And
these work?
all these facts are about UpDiff 2025. Dre, you want to start with the first one?
Yeah, our first fact is we ran 2,940 runs at UpDiff, almost 3,000 runs. That's a
And the
lot.
second fact is that 1,218 of those runs occurred on Saturday.
Like, look at that. That's almost half of our runs on one day.
Let's never do that
Disc.con,
again.
man. We made it happen. People talked about it on Facebook. We had a 16-hour UpDiff day under the lights. It was fantastic. We
All
need
right,
disc.
Kat, what's the next one?
657 teams. So human dog combos, 657.
All right, back to you, Dre.
284 competitors this year, separate humans playing in multiple teams.
And 585 dogs that were registered to play. So and I'm sure there were even more than that because I know there was 5 of them in my
Puppies
van
and old
that weren't
dogs
registered.
yeah. So we had like 1,000 dogs there.
See, this is why, like, when you approach a city and you're like, hey, we'd like to come do this event. By the way, there's going to be 1,000 dogs
1,000
coming
dogs.
here. They're like, what? All right, last one.
I'm sure it'll all be fine.
Oh, sorry, is that me? We
Yeah,
had
it's you.
on top of the 284 competitors, we had at least 20 judges and staff who weren't playing. So we had more judges and staff than that, but a lot of them did double duty and they like played and judged, but so they counted under competitors in this number. So we had at least another 20 more people who were there just to judge or just to work. So
That's crazy.
yeah,
They're not playing. They're just here to support
exactly.
Updog.
Exactly.
So cool. That's so
Yep.
cool. Those facts were far out.
All right, guys. Well, this one went a little bit long, but we had a lot to say. We had a lot to think about. We're going to be revisiting this updiff in our heads for, I'm sure, many years to come. And great memories. The good things will definitely outlast the bad memories. Because the bad memories were few.
Yeah.
We figured them out with your help. So the good memories are going to last a long time from this one. So thank you guys for that. Those of you that were there and helping out in so many ways. Dre, until we talk to them again.
Be kind to each other.
And Kat.
Be kind to your dogs.
All right, guys, we will see you next time. Next week, we've got another UpDiff one, but next week's going to be about your reflections, your thoughts about UpDiff. We're going to be going over things from the survey, and we will anonymously share some of the comments and some of the data that we get from the survey. See you guys then.
Fill out your surveys. They're very
Yep.
helpful for us. So please take the time as soon as you can, because we're going to be recording that episode soon. So please take your time to fill out that survey. It's super valuable for us. So thank you.
Bye.
Like, God, another effing problem. Brr, 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 brr.